All right, Blake Lively in the headlines again.
She admits that she's had clashed with directors in the past on previous films.
And I, have missed all of pop culture.
I cannot think of a movie that had more hair than the Barbie movie. For the role of Barbie, I produced the film, so I guess I cast myself, but I did make it very clear to Greta.
Blake Lively was closer to becoming a Barbie girl than anyone realized. And the story of why it didn't happen is as twisted as the plot of any Hollywood thriller. On the surface, it looked like a match made in pink paradise. She had the charm, the audience appeal, and the star power. But behind the scenes, her push for creative control turned a simple casting discussion into a full-blown power struggle. So what really went wrong when the world's most recognizable doll collided with one of Tinseltown's most ambitious stars?
Wants me to compliment her, and she's like, I'm not below comp. It's clear that you're not.
Before the cameras rolled, before Barbie broke every box office record in sight, Blake Lively's name floated around as one of the movie's high-profile contenders. She'd already made her mark as a fashion icon and leading lady. Stepping into a glossy pink dreamscape seemed like a no-brainer. And honestly, in a film dripping with bubblegum aesthetics and witty satire, who wouldn't assume she'd fit right in? The reason she didn't join the party, however, had nothing to do with talent. Instead, it had everything to do with the backstage dynamic that was already carefully in place. Margot Robbie, both the star and a producer on the project, had her vision locked. She wasn't scouting for a co-producer. She was looking for an actress who could merge seamlessly into the world she and director Greta Gerwig were building.
A character who was both strong and vulnerable. It wasn't any one thing.
At first, adding Blake Lively to the cast sounded like a brilliant move. Imagine the hype, two Hollywood heavyweights teaming up under the pastel lights of Barbie Land. But the rumors say Blake had bigger plans than simply memorizing lines and showing up on set. Word on the street is that she pushed for creative input, perhaps even a say in how the movie was marketed. This wasn't about snagging a cameo or a neat supporting role. Blake allegedly wanted authority. For a film already navigating big themes of identity and modern womanhood, layering on additional voices could have spun things in too many directions. Margot Robbie, famous for forging strong working relationships, wasn't fond of the extra turbulence. According to insider whispers, she'd spent ages molding Barbie into something extraordinary, something that would sidestep the usual pitfalls of toy-themed flicks. So when push came to shove, she politely but firmly closed the door on any big creative concessions.
An exciting opportunity. It seems like over the last 64 years, it hasn't taken.
Margot Robbie didn't sign on to Barbie just because she liked pink. She championed the project through her production company, Lucky Chap Entertainment, from day one. Early on, she made it clear that this wasn't going to be a shallow plastic romp. Instead, she and Greta Gerwig carved out a story laced with social commentary, humor, and a dash of feminism. Margot's philosophy was straightforward. Trust the creative team you've painstakingly assembled. Let the director do her job. Encourage the ensemble cast, everyone from comedic standouts to fresh new faces, to inhabit their roles without swirling chaos. In other words, the Barbie set was to be a hive of collaboration, not a battleground of egos. When Blake began flexing her own ideas, that vision of creative harmony hit a snag.
Is there anything that you want from the Barbie movie? I was like, yes, two things. A slide that goes from her bedroom to her pool, because that's my dream in life, and a mermaid Barbie. And she was like, really?
Of course you might shrug and say, so what? Many actors want some control. And you'd be right. Creative drive is practically standard in Hollywood, especially for A-list names who've tasted producing or directing. But with Blake Lively, it keeps making headlines. It ends with Us, the highly anticipated adaptation of Colleen Hoover's best-selling novel, reportedly turned into a swirl of tension long before cameras even finished rolling. Whispers from that set painted Blake as someone who wanted script rewrites, changes to shooting schedules, and maybe even involvement in legal matters behind the scenes. Director Justin Baldoni supposedly had his hands full trying to maintain smooth sailing. Some argue Blake's just passionate. Others claim it borders on overreaching. Either way, it's a signature style that's raised eyebrows more than once. On the flip side, Margot Robbie's star soared in a way that looked effortless. She jumped from unforgettable performances, The Wolf of Wall Street, I, Tonya, to launching her own production company. She didn't just show up with demands. She built credibility through carefully chosen projects and steady collaborations. She funded offbeat scripts, championed rising directors, and quietly worked her way into a position of major influence. That's the crux of their differences. Where Blake's rumored to stride onto a set looking to shape it to her liking, Margot gained her power by listening, learning, and earning trust. This stark contrast might explain why one star was welcomed with open arms at Barbie, while the other was politely, yet swiftly, shown the exit. Not long after the dust settled, Barbie barreled into theaters and shattered expectations. Critics hailed it as a vibrant, unexpectedly deep satire. Fans lined up in droves, catapulting it to over $1 billion worldwide. Everywhere you looked, hot pink outfits and Barbie references popped up in everyday conversation. The cultural impact was unstoppable. Would that success have happened with Blake Lively in the mix? Maybe, But the general consensus is that Margot Robbie's unwavering commitment to her original blueprint paid off big time. Instead of an atmosphere brimming with creative clashes, the cast and crew allegedly worked with synergy. Each actress contributed a unique energy that fit perfectly into Greta Gerwig's overarching theme. No last-minute rewrites. No overshadowing demands. Just unstoppable momentum. For Blake Lively, the Barbie near-miss might be a wake-up call. Hollywood can applaud ambition, but also punishes anything that threatens a film's smooth production. She's undeniably talented, a household name capable of drawing crowds. Yet, if stories of behind-the-scenes friction continue, it could erode some of that goodwill. Her upcoming projects will offer a glimpse of whether she's shifting tactics or doubling down. Will she forge her own path by producing original work from scratch, thus earning the influence she craves? Or will she keep diving into established projects, trying to reshape them in her image? Meanwhile, Margot Robbie charges ahead like a force of nature. Fresh off her Barbie victory, she's now recognized not only as an actress, but also as a sharp producer who can wrangle big ideas and even bigger personalities into something magical. If the industry loves anything, it's a proven winner. And Margot's definitely proven she can keep both art and commerce thriving side by side. The standoff between Blake Lively and Margot Robbie over Barbie goes far beyond pastel outfits and box office dollars. It's a snapshot of how power dynamics play out in Hollywood. Collaboration versus control, trust versus territory. Margot's approach, nurturing a vision over time, trusting fellow creatives, resulted in one of the most talked about films in recent memory. Blake, on the other hand, found herself on the outside looking in. Still, this business thrives on comebacks. Blake Lively is no stranger to reinvention, and her ambition isn't easily snuffed out. But whether that drive catapults her to new heights or isolates her further depends on how she navigates the next power play. Because in Hollywood, you can't rule with an iron fist if no one wants to stand beside you. And if the legend of Barbie taught us anything, it's that sometimes the real strength comes not from taking over, but from joining forces with those who share your vision. End of story? Not exactly. With each new project, both actresses continue shaping the industry in their own way. Margot Robbie remains the unstoppable collaborator, while Blake Lively's next steps might redefine her legacy. In a town built on reinvention, the question isn't whether Blake Lively has the talent. It's whether she can harness her ambition without alienating the very people who can help make her dreams a reality.